And we're on. Hello and welcome to podcast episode 97 of Rope-A-Dope Boxing, where the two Davids are back once again to bring you your weekly fix of boxing news. While you're sat there, guys, usual T's and C's, like, share and subscribe via YouTube. And obviously do the same if you're listening via audio on your Spotify, on your Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you get our wonderful content. I said the two Davids there. Obviously, we're going to crack on and talk about the two Davids from the weekend, Mr. Benavidez and Mr. David Morrell Jr. doing their thing. But I just had a bit of a technical nightmare there. Looks like I've got to purchase some fucking earphones. Anyone that listens or watched my rant and rave from the week, testing out my new microphone. I've got my microphone here, my $15.99 job from Argos. Sounded okay last week. Sounded good. Set up very well. Went to speak to Dave on it. Looks like I need headphones with it. So I've cocked up there somehow. So I've got to go to Argos now and get myself a fucking pair of earphones. There's me trying to be professional, and it hasn't worked. But I can hear him now. He can hear me. We haven't spoke for a week. Brother, how are you?
Had some bad news over the weekend, mate, which is why we're recording tonight and not on Monday. My father-in-law passed away on Friday, sadly. So as you can imagine, my kids and my wife and that are devastated. So it's been a bit of a solemn affair in my house at the moment. I did watch the boxing Saturday night, so that is my
take your mind off it.
Take my mind off it. Yeah, I was just gonna couldn't get the words out then, but yeah, sad times in our house. I say he was 86 years old. He'd been unwell for a while. But put up a good fight. But yeah, he finally gave in, which is a shame. He's a lovely man. So we got all that going on our house. So apologies for the late show, but life gets in the way, or death in this case. But I had that, mate. I haven't done a lot. I've been off work. I went back today. Been trying to sort out funeral stuff, and because his wife's 84 years old, so she needs a little bit of help, and she's the next of kin. So, she needs a bit of help. They live a little bit away from us as well. They're about an hour away. So I've been doing a lot of running around. But yeah, trying to get back to normal now before the funeral, which we don't have a date for yet. So other than that, mate, I watched the boxing Saturday night and then just doing family stuff, mate. So yeah, no funny stories for me this weekend, I'm afraid. But they will be back.
Yeah.
Because my life is like that. So a bit of a solemn one this weekend, but it'll be back to normal where my life's a fucking shambles and there's all sorts of shit that happens to me probably from next week on, because it doesn't last long,
Yeah, the soap opera, which is called David Holland, which will be back next week. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear your sad news, mate. But obviously we're doing two shows this week.
Yeah,
we're doing tonight because Dave just got in for work. For regular listeners or viewers, realise we're doing it midweek. I've got to go to work, so we'll cram about an hour's worth of the reviewing today. Tomorrow we'll be back to do our preview of the weekend's boxing coming up and all sorts of news that's fishing about on our usual segments, David McDonald on our weekly wager, etc. But we'll jump straight into the review then from the weekend just gone. Let's get me banners up. It's quite clear where we're going to start, ladies and gentlemen. David Benavidez versus David Morrell Jr., the two Davids over at the T-Mobile in Las Vegas. Up at 175 now, these guys both unbeaten, should I say, at 168. Both holding interim straps at 175 and 168. Couldn't be asked to wait around for Canelo. We had this conversation last week. He's holding the division up, so they've both gone to 175, and they've decided to get it on. I don't know if this was a voluntary. Well, no, it would have been a voluntary. This because obviously different sanctioning bodies don't reckon other belts, so they've both got it on at 175. Fair fucks to PBC and Al Heyman. They don't do many shows. But when they do shows, they put on fucking decent shows. And this was a great card over the weekend. We said it was the best fight of the year so far. Of course, we've got February 22nd coming up, which does trump this, whichever way you want to think. But this was a fantastic card throughout.
Yeah.
This was the fight we all wanted to see. The Mexican monster versus the Cuban style of David Morrell Jr. Both hate each other. It was a fantastic build-up. Both, going backwards and forwards all week. The teams arguing. It was really interesting as well, Dave, watching the build-up. You learn so many different things. So previous to fight week, you'd had David Morrell and David Benavidez pushing each other. You'd had David Morrell throwing a belt at David Benavidez Jr. But according to form, David Morrell Jr.'s team had to put a clause in the contract that if David Benavidez had touched David Morrell during fight week, he would have lost 25% of his purse. That's why we didn't get any shots thrown. That's why we didn't get any pushes, which is good, really. We don't want any injuries going into fights.
No.
But it's quite interesting that 25% had been put in there. So that was very clever from David Morrell's team. 50-50 fight on paper. Yes, Benavidez had the more knockouts. He had the more experience. He had the more fights. He'd been in with better opponents. But David Morrell is a guy that's, using one of your terminology, is on the crest of a wave. He looks the business, looks really good down at 168. They're both fights at 175. I think you and the boxing community said they didn't look good. Benavidez against Gavotnik and Morrell versus Hot Rod. Not great performances. Didn't kettle the fish here. Both gone into a 12-week camp. Both trained. Both worked hard. And then the reward on the table is quite clear. There's the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev next. So that is a wankable fight. It's a fight everybody wants to see. And this was the semi-final. This was the semi-final to see who gets that winner. Yes, now we can go down a rabbit hole and start talking about Bivol and Beterbiev. If Bivol beats him, then we get a third fight. So then the winner has to wait, etc. A bit like Canelo holding up the division, if you like. But we can have that dream. But first, we have to talk about that dream. And that dream was Benavidez versus Morrell. Would it live up to expectations? You bet it did. I thoroughly enjoyed watching us on Sunday early hours Sunday morning, mate. And on the banner there, I put Benavidez is that guy. And I put Benavidez is that guy, not because it was a one-sided beatdown from David Morrell. It proves that he is, in my opinion, even after 2 fights, he is that guy after Bivol and Beterbiev at 175. Thoroughly enjoyed it, mate. Benavidez got his hand raised. I thought some of the scorecards, one of the scorecards was a bit poor, but apart from that, the right man did win, and it was a fantastic fight for 36 minutes. Both guys slogging it out, moments for both guys, hard hitting, great chins. This is what, when you put 50-50 fights on, guys, this is what delivers. Proper, world-class, elite boxing from 2 fantastic sportsmen. Dave, over to you. Bloody loved it.
I absolutely loved it, mate. I thought it was a fantastic fight. And you know what? Credit to David Morrell. 11 fights, going in with David Benavidez. Selling the fight very well, building it up very well, and then putting on a good performance in the fight. Really, for me, really, David Morrell is going to come. We always knew he's a good fighter anyway, but he belongs at that division, and he belongs to be fighting in these fights. For me, he's only going to get better as well. 11 fights, he's gone in. He's there to be great. If he'd got the win against David Benavidez, that's a good scalp. So it shows he's got balls to go in there. Take a chance, take a shot, and he was very good in the fight. I just loved what Benavidez done. For me, his defense, that high guard when he walked forward was amazing. The amount of punches that he blocked, clearly blocked as well. Usually you see fights where some people will get scores. The scorecards are close because they've thrown a lot of shots, but you say a lot of it. Clean and effective work. You could see that David Morrell was missing, clearly missing as well because of how good David Benavidez's guard was. And you know what I liked about it as well? He had a high guard on the front foot. It wasn't like he was sitting on the ropes and he was shoulder rolling and all that. He was walking forward, throwing good shots, but also having a high guard and blocking on the way in. And I think that doesn't get spoken about enough.
No, he doesn't. I was just going to say that, mate. He doesn't get enough credit for his defensive work.
Do you know what? I think people are going to take note of that. And do you know, when obviously Canelo's name always gets branded around, that's a real problem, that defense for Canelo, for me. And the output. David Benavidez is, for a big guy, his engine and his outputs is unbelievable. He's the complete fighter for me, mate. I say he's on the front foot. He throws lovely combinations to the body as well. He went to the body
as well.
Fast hands. Yeah, but his body work as well. We don't really talk about stats here, but they did pull up the stats for body shots landed, and it was 42-12 or something. It was incredible. And like I say, for me, I don't ever want to call a world champion or a great like Canelo a duck, but I can see why he's avoiding Benavidez. And obviously not based on that performance, because we know a lot about Benavidez anyway. But looking at this performance alone against David Morrell, who's a good fighter, really good fighter, can throw shots, brilliant combinations himself. But he was just up against someone that was just better, and that's okay. But you can see now why. How Benavidez can win against Canelo, because obviously Canelo's slowing down as well. David Benavidez will put it on him, and yes, Canelo throws a lot of eye-catching shots, and his hooks, his uppercuts, and all that stuff. But I don't see him penetrating Benavidez's defense.
Canelo ain't fighting Benavidez, mate. He's fighting Jake Paul. We'll have a fucking moment tomorrow. He ain't going nowhere near the Mexican monster. This is the reason why.
You can see why. But like I say, I was watching the David Benavidez fight, and I was just in awe. I thought it was a fucking fantastic performance, man. You know, and I just loved everything about it. I like the front forward fighter as well. He didn't lay on the ropes. I like the way he pushed Morrell back, but he done it like I say. You very rarely see it like he was he's on the offense, but he was using his defense as a weapon. It was incredible. And then, like I say, and then he's teeing off some of his shots that he was catching as well, eye-catching shots. And like I say, fair play to Morrell, because Morrell stood up to it. Morrell tried to get it on the pocket. He traded, and he tried, and he really did try, and he made a fight of it. And for me, like, yes, you've spoken about Bivol and you've spoken about Beterbiev. They're elite, but I'm putting Benavidez up there.
Oh, definitely.
Morrell belongs up there. Like for me, yes, he's lost. But for me, I can see improvement. I can see him improving. Yeah. I can see him getting to that level. He's had 11 fights.
We both used the word elite there, mate. It's probably a phrase that's overused. Yes, Bivol and Beterbiev are. We'll call them world class. There's world class. To me, I've always said there's elite, world class, world level, fringe world level, and then you go down the division. They're both world class. Morrell's proved himself that he does belong at the top table because of the performance against Benavidez. He had success in that fight. You know, we come to the knockdown in a minute, which I didn't believe was a knockdown, but he landed some big, clean shots on Benavidez during the fight. Benavidez's eyes started to mark up. Benavidez just ate them all up. He's got a fantastic chin, but so is Morrell. Do you know what I mean? Morrell won his rounds. He had his moments. I think one of the scorecards was 118 to 108. That's a disgrace because even though David Morrell, we both agreed, did lose the fight, he won more than 2 rounds. Let's not be fucking stupid about it. He won at least 4 or 5 rounds.
And not only that, he got a 10-8. Even though, and we'll talk about that in a minute, because but he got a 10-8 round as well.
He had a point deducted, didn't he, for hitting onto the bell, David Morrell?
Yeah, he did. Apologies.
But again, we're giving all the props to. We are giving the props to both guys. But David Morrell, whatever happens, mate, between Beterbiev and Bivol, whether they have a third fight, whether the belts are scattered. Benavidez has got 2 of those interim straps now, so he should be nailed on to fight for either a vacant title or fight one of those guys. You look at the rest of the division, you've got the Brits in there, in Boazzi and in Yard and Callum Smith. To me, David Morrell is nailed on to win another belt. He beats probably all 3 of them based on what I've seen against that fucking monster. I was very impressed with Morrell. I really was. He does belong at the top table now. Questions were asked. He's never been chin checked. He's never been asked any question in any of his fights. Was it a big jump for him? He had the regular belt down at 168. He's got the regular belt at 175. He does belong there. And this division's gone now from being a sort of a stale division to one of the talks of the town, isn't it? It's full of talent. It's full of great world-class fighters. It's a very, very exciting division. And as you just said there, mate, that David Benavidez has just jumped the ladder to go just behind Bivol and Beterbiev. And that's all we can talk about now. Fuck Canelo. Canelo and his chance. Didn't want to know. Forget about Canelo. We'll talk about him tomorrow and his nonsense he's going down. Well, alleged nonsense he's going down. But it is about now Benavidez versus the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev,
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, we had 2 at the light heavyweight division now, where them 2 were the best in the division and they still are, and they're the elites of that division. I think you put Benavidez can go up into that now. But I was going to ask you about David Morrell. Obviously, we've got a lot of light heavyweights in the UK. We've got Smith and Boazzi, and you got Anthony Yard who fights a lot of TBC. But there's a lot of let's say fringe world level type of guys. How do you think David Morrell fares against all them guys? No, I'm putting Benavidez, for me, beats them all, not a problem. And he's up there to challenge him, the 2 elites. Then you've got the let's say the fringe world level at this stage of Morrell's. And how do you think Morrell fares against these guys based on that performance? Because I think that was a good performance. I think there's enough in that Benavidez performance to suggest that he beats them guys.
That's exactly what I just said about 2 minutes ago. The thing is, with the fight we've just seen, Benavidez didn't go in there in my opinion, he didn't go in there to box. He was fucking focused, razor sharp, angry. I thought he might start fighting on emotion, but he didn't. He went in there to take fucking Morrell's head off. And obviously, David Morrell Jr. is a elite Cuban amateur boxer. He's one of the standout artists, along with Andy Cruz and a couple of others, from that Cuban national team. Now they've got the Cuban style, the hit and not get hit, the fast hands, the fast feet. But because David Benavidez was so aggressive in that fight, didn't really give David Morrell a chance to sort of use that Cuban style. You saw David Morrell kind of fight toe-to-toe with him, trying to get him out of there, which obviously he realised he couldn't do, same as his previous fight against Hot Rod. And because of the pressure was so front-footed from David Benavidez, he couldn't really navigate his way to get out the way against, as we just said, a very stellar and world-class fighter now is David Benavidez. So going on to the three guys you've mentioned, Joshua Buatsi is obviously, an Olympian who can box. He's not a front-footed pressure fighter like Benavidez. Neither is Callum Smith. Yard is to an extent, but he doesn't really have the amateur background. I honestly, mate, going to your question, I think David Morrell will outbox Anthony Yard with ease. It depends if he wants to get into a trading war with him, because Anthony Yard can punch just as hard as any of them up at 175. Callum Smith, we don't always know what we're getting from Callum Smith. Sometimes he looks like a well beater, then he's very sort of wishy-washy. Can he beat Smith? Cuban style boxing, 100%. And obviously, Joshua Buatsi seems to be improving now on his last couple of fights. But can he beat him? He's just gone in with Benavidez, and he's gone 36 minutes with him. Not, took his best punches. Yes, he lost the fight. So 100%. I reckon he can beat all three. I've just said there. I reckon now, whatever happens with the belts, dude, David Morrell Jr. will win at least one or two of those belts. There's 4 in the division, including the Ring magazine. I reckon he beats all 3.
Yeah, I agree.
Whether he does is another question, but I believe he can.
But it just like we said there, we've had Beterbiev and Bivol for a long time ruling the division, and that's fine. But these two, I'm not saying they're additions because they've had a couple of fights in there, but I think it hot.
They kind of are, aren't they? Because they're at 168 and they kind of like we'll go up here now because we're not getting our just desserts down 168. We'll jump up here now.
It's not like they've just appeared out of nowhere. They've been in the divisions below. They're in the boxing fraternity. We know who they are and whatnot. But and they have. They are good. They're additions. But for me, in the light heavyweight division now, it's brought a bit more excitement. Now, listen, we love Beterbiev and Bivol, and we do. But when there's 2 of them, and now they are fighting each other, that's great. But for me, I didn't see anyone else that sort of coming in. Benavidez, as you put there, is that guy. Now, to say you could go on and beat them, that's for another day. That's a hard one to answer.
Yeah, but it's just a prediction, isn't it? You're allowed to have a prediction.
But whether I think he can beat them 2, I don't know. That's a hard one. But like I say, it just adds to the excitement of the light heavyweight division, which is what was needed. We got guys coming through and performing. I'm with you. I think David Morrell Jr. has done enough in that to prove that he could be the future. And you say the future. There's only a year's difference between him and David Benavidez. So you look at him like he's a young prospect, but these Cuban guys that have been in the amateur system for so long, they turn over late. And but I just I could even see them running this back in a couple of years' time when Morrell Jr.'s got more experience.
Yeah, and a belt.
Yeah, coming back again. Like he's been in there once. Like 11 fights. 11 fights. He's a pro novice. Yes, he's not. He's probably had 300 amateur fights. Probably. Like I mean. So he's not. But when it comes to the pros, and people talk about it being a different sport, amateur and pro, different sport. So in pro boxing terms, he's a baby. So there's the fact that he can improve is a scary thought for the rest of that division for me.
Definitely. You're right, mate. He is a baby, but he's a very, very good baby.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't call him a baby to his face, but you know what I mean.
No, definitely not. But great performance from both guys on Saturday night, and we look forward to seeing what's next for David Morrell and for David Benavidez Jr. Right. I've written here, guys, Morales versus Barrera, part 4. Dave, why is it when we put 2 Mexicans together that are front-footed and like to throw, why do we always get exciting fights? I put 2 Brits together, put 2 Aussies together, put 2 Americans together. We're kind of saying, well, those styles didn't really match. He wasn't in his A game, or I don't know. Do I want to see it again? There's always kind of excuses and reasons why it didn't work.
Yeah.
2 Mexicans. Talk about fucking deliver. This was exactly what we predicted last week. I said last week on the show that we could, even though we didn't know a lot about Angel Fierro, we both said we could get a Mexican war here, and it fucking delivered. When Pitbull Cruz fights, he's never in shit fights. The guy always turns up, always delivers. Yes, he's had a couple of setbacks. He lost to Venezuela. He's lost to Tank Davis. He's lost in good company. But when he turns up, you know exactly what you're going to get. You put your phone away, you know, you get your beers, you sit forward to the telly, you're on your edge of your seat, and you're entertained. And not just Pitbull Cruz, mate, but Angel Fierro as well. They entertained me for the half an hour it lasted. We both predicted a knockout. Well, I think I predicted a knockout. I'll have to look back at our prediction league. But I'm glad it wasn't a knockout now, because Rock'em Sock'em for 30 minutes was beautiful. Yes, we like the sweet silence, the hit and not get hit. And there's bits and parts of it as well in there. Fierro got his, had the middle rounds when he did start to box, but Pitbull Cruz does what he does, doesn't he? He puts his head down, he sits on your chest, and he throws those big hooks, like overhand rights, overhand lefts. It's not reckless either. It's all fucking educated. I loved it. It could be my fight of the weekend, mate. Even though we've had a lot to choose from this weekend, I was entertained. As Daniel Dubois says now, mate, were you entertained? I fucking was. Bring it again. Part 2. Love it.
Yeah, no, it was a good scrap, and that's exactly what it was.
It was better than a good scrap, core. From round 1. Ding ding.
But then, like I say, if Isaac Cruz gets an opponent who's willing to trade, this is the fights that it throws up. Just full on wars, and they're amazing to watch. Like I say, we talk sweet science and that, but you need a mixture of both. And with Isaac Cruz, you get that. If he goes in with any type of boxing with fundamentals, it's a different type of fight. But if he goes in there with someone that's willing to trade, you get fireworks, and that's exactly what this was. And fair play to both of them, man. It was a full on 36 minutes of just fucking like banging away each other, and it was a great fight, a great spectacle. And look, if you're any type of promoter or you're any type of boxing guy, you want to have Isaac Cruz on your shows, man. Like especially for fights like that. Like I say, you put him like I just said there, he's beatable, but you don't beat him by standing and trading with him and standing in the pocket and having a phone box fight with him, because he's tough as they come. And he brings it, but the way to beat him is to box him. Is to box him, fundamentals, and that's been proven. There's a blueprint there. But for pure excitement, adrenaline, and for your show, you get him on there, and you put him, and you find an opponent who's willing to fire back, and it produces that.
That was Fierro.
Yeah, like you said there. If it was on PBC, that's Al Heyman, isn't it? If I'm Al Heyman, I'm putting on the rematch on the next show. And like you put there, Morales Barrera 4, you could get that, and people would watch it every time, and you'd get the same fight every time, because it was brilliant. It was, like I say, and anyone that's listening to this who hasn't seen it, go see that. Yes, you'd like to see boxing, but this was boxing
in it as well. That's what I'm saying. Bar the knockdown and the stoppage, this had everything.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah. But like I say, for pure blood and guts. It was amazing. It really, really was. It was a toe to toe, center of the ring, and just banging away at each other. Yes, there was elements of boxing in that and all that to it, but it was a full on scrap.
It was unanimous decision for Pitbull Cruz, like 6 rounds to 4 in the end. I thought it was the right decision. It wasn't hard to score. I think Pitbull dominated the first half. I thought. Fierro came back in the middle rounds when he was starting to box. Cruz looked a bit not tired is the wrong sort of words. Kind of like, he's changed his game plan now. Now we have to work it out. Back end of the fight, championship rounds again, it was Cruz, but 9 times out of 10, it was a Mexican war. But the more eye-catching shots were coming from Pitbull Cruz. The amount of times Fierro's fucking head was knocked back, and how he stayed on his feet a couple of times. A couple of times I was watching Fierro's round, I've gone, he's hurt. The legs. Fucking staying on his feet like a true Mexican warrior.
I think I'm with you. I think the early rounds won it for Pitbull Cruz. I really do, because like you said, the eye catching, he was catching him early. Yes, there were good shots, but his heads were going back, and I think that was the difference in the fight. If it was a draw, I wouldn't have been too outraged.
Hey, I'd watch it again and again and again.
Oh, you would, no matter even if what was his name? Venezuela? No.
Fierro.
Oh, Fierro. Sorry. Yeah. So even Fierro was 3 down, and they called on a full fight, you'd watch this and you'd call for it. So the style was just gelled perfectly to make a really, really fucking good fight, and that's exactly what it was. It was one for the fans, just for blood and guts and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not normally a fan, you know me, guys, when it comes to fucking bullshit belts. So Suleiman put on a WBC Azteca belt, but I kind of there's no sanction fees for those kind of belts. You see him with Tyson Fury, Canelo, they hand them out willy nilly. But this was in memory of obviously Israel Vasquez, the Mexican super bantamweight that lost his life last year. He had like 44 wins and 49 fights or something. He died of cancer, which I thought was a nice touch as well. Just made it a whole kind of Mexican affair. But yeah, Pitbull Cruz, ladies and gentlemen, as Dave rightly says there, he's got to be on every PBC show. And we need to get him over to Saudi Arabia as well, because if Turkey wants eyes on the kingdom, that guy thinks fucking eyes. Even if you've never heard of him, you watch one fight of him again, you're box regging, you're Googling, he's turned into one of my favourite fighters. He really, really has. So
I do think though that his opponents make a difference. Like I say, you put him in there with someone who's got an IQ. It's not half the fight that we've just witnessed the weekend. I feel like if you're gonna bring him over to the kingdom, I think you need to pick his opponent that's gonna stand there and trade and not take a backward step, and that just makes fireworks. So his opponent for me is a big thing.
Yeah, you're right. Fulton's Inoue nightmares are over. Stephen Fulton against Brandon Figueroa for the WBC featherweight title. We said last week that Fulton had beat Figueroa down at super bantamweight. Sorry, very close fight, very controversial in terms of should Fulton have won. I didn't think he'd done enough to win, and we both predicted Figueroa would get the job done this time, up at a bigger weight, been around a bit longer. I think he's had 3 fights, 3 stoppages. Fulton's had 1 fight against Carlos Castro, looked absolutely rubbish. Probably maybe shouldn't have got the decision. Possibly clocked up a few of the early rounds to just nick it. Said he didn't have enough pop going into this, which I stand by. And he didn't look the same fighter since he fought Inoue. Stephen Fulton's been this kind of, yes, he does put pressure on your chest and he does go for the knockout when the opportunity arises. But he's a boxer puncher, he's hit and not get hit. He's quite slick, got great movement, great feet, finds the angles, very good kind of black American boxer that we're accustomed to seeing in this day and age. And his his style's kind of changed. And obviously since being knocked out heavily by Inoue, he's only had 1 fight since, but he just hasn't looked that guy. And going into fight week as well, he's looked kind of sort of down, and his body language to me didn't look right. And I thought he's tailor-made for Figueroa. Figueroa was going to get the revenge here. Stephen Fulton was not a 1-2-6 fighter, Dave. Coming into the fight, I've got to be totally honest, mate. I think me, you, the bookmakers, a lot of boxing podcasts, a lot of pundits, we've all got egg in our face because I did not give Brandon Figueroa 1 fucking round.
I know. Firstly, before we talk about the fight, I've got to talk about his get up.
His Timberlands.
His Timberlands and the ripped jeans, or 3/4 lengths.
Lumberjack, isn't he? He's a lumberjack.
I actually quite liked it. Now, obviously, the Timberlands were obviously boxing boots that are made to look like that, which was fine.
You can't wear Timberlands.
No, but I actually quite liked it, man. Yeah, and I'm not into that type of stuff. I thought it was pretty good. But listen, for me, Stephen Fulton rolled back the ears Saturday night.
The boxing was back, baby. The boxing was back. Hit and don't get hit. Counter punch the fucking lot.
Yeah, but it's like his shot selection as well. His shot selection was class. Like I say, he caught Figueroa with so many clean shots. But Figueroa, for me, looked lackluster. His output wasn't half as much.
Work him out, mate. He couldn't work out what Stephen Fulton would turn up this time.
Yeah, but like I say, his output wasn't the same. No. That seems to be an issue because his output was his greatest attribute, especially in their last fight, where he just sort of wore down Stephen Fulton. Got him into the corners. Kept him there. But had so much of an engine and so much of output. For me, he waited too long, and Stephen Fulton could slide, catch him on the way in, and then bang, he's off. And he looked $1 million for me, Stephen Fulton, based on that. But like I said, I really don't want to take anything away from Stephen Fulton because it was a great performance. But there was a factor in the fact that Figueroa's output was nowhere near.
But there wasn't any excuses for Team Figueroa. There wasn't. No. He said he had a great camp. He was, this was the best he's been. There was no. I don't think there was any excuses after. He just said, "I got beat by the better man." And Fulton kept it quite simple as well, Dave. I was kind of waxing lyrical about his boxing skill, but it was like 1-2 move, 1-2 move, catch a counter, 1-2 move. Very sort of the fundamentals are very basic, but he made it look even better. It's very, you are right, the output wasn't there from Figueroa. It's like he couldn't work, like I just said, it's like he couldn't work him out. It was like, well, this isn't the Fulton I fought last time round. I can't hit him as much as I used to. I can't cut the ring off as much as I used to. What's changed? And he couldn't get into gear, whereas as he's trying to think and trying to work him out, going back to the corner, Fulton was just clocking up rounds. I honestly, Dave, I didn't give Figueroa 1 round. I struggled to give him 1 round. I thought Stephen Fulton was absolutely brilliant on the night.
He was. Like I say, we spoke about Figueroa. He's come up and did he get 3 stoppages? You said, didn't he? Do you think that played a factor in his approach to this fight, where he's come up in weight and thinks that he's that guy? I
haven't got box rec in front of me, but he's beat Magdaleno. He's beat Castro. He knocked Castro out. He didn't get screwed against Fulton. I'm not going to be silly, but Fulton struggled with him. But I suppose it's different factors to look into it. It was Fulton's first fight at 126. Did he overlook Castro? Did he have a proper camp going into it? I don't know.
It's a difficult one because like I say, I don't want to take anyone away from Fulton, but it doesn't seem like the Figueroa that we've come to be used to. And like I say, a big thing of his is his output, and it just wasn't there. And like I say, he sort of got into range, but it was like was a bit trigger shy, a bit shy to throw the shots when he should have just waited too long. And what Fulton could do, Fulton could hit him with a 1-2 and gone, and and look good doing it. So it was something, like I say. But listen, he could have been bamboozled by Fulton because maybe he's looked at Fulton from the last performance and looked at his performance coming into this and thought he's shot, he's on the way out, because there was question marks being put over Fulton. Especially since Inoue, he seemed to have lost his confidence. But for me, this fight here, the way he's gone through Figueroa, just absolutely bossed him for the whole fight. I think he's now, that is the confidence boost he's been waiting on. Since Inoue, I think he was a little bit shocked when it came to confidence. I think this is it now, and I think that the early rounds as well. I think he grew into the fight. I think his confidence grew, and he thought, I'm on fucking fire. Just must have felt great.
Definitely.
And he had Figueroa. He was 1 step ahead of Figueroa at all times, and it was. I say I watched it. I said at the start here, it was the it's Fulton for me. Fulton 2.0 based on that performance. And I really do yes, there's always going to be question marks on whether he's got the power at that weight. He's never been known as being a one-punch knockout artist or anything like that. He's always been a slick boxer, but that sort of eluded him in his last few fights. He was getting caught way too much, and they say he's starting to think he's on the slide. But that was a great performance. That really was. That was the Fulton of old. That really did. He rolled back the years for me. He did. He rolled back the years and looked fucking great. Anyone that hadn't seen his previous fights and looked at that, must have thought, fucking hell, who's this guy? So for me, that was a great performance there. Really was.
So he's the champ now in 2 divisions, beating the same man. Fair play to him. Straight away, the links on social media to Shoo Carrington. That version of Stephen Fulton beats Shoo Carrington all day, every day, as twice on Sundays, as people say. We're high on Shoo Carrington on there. He is the future, or one of the guys for the future. But going on, what have you done for me lately? Stephen Fulton beats him. However, that fight is not going to happen because Shoo's a top-ranked fighter, and obviously Stephen Fulton's a PBC guy. And if anybody doesn't realise, Brandon Figueroa was kind of the email champion to Ray Vargas. Now, Ray Vargas is champion in recess. I don't know how long he's got left before he can trigger his own mandatory to get his belt back. So we know what PBC do, guys. They keep everything in-house. So you will probably be seeing Ray Vargas versus Stephen Fulton for that belt, kept in-house by the PBC. But either way, I don't mind any of those 2 fights. It was a great performance from Stephen Fulton. And from all the other guys that we've mentioned as well. Just quickly before we move over to the UK, I just want to give a couple of mentions to Kumail Moton, Floyd Mayweather's prodigy, if you like. He made it 7-0 with 6 KOs to his resume. 18-year-old lightweight, great addition to the lightweight division. It's really getting stacked now. Yes, he's only 18. We're not going to rush him, but he has got flashes of Floyd. Very exciting to watch. There was an Olympian on there, Dave, an Argentinian Olympian guy, Merlo Coelho. This was interesting. If anybody hasn't watched it, go back and watch this fight. As I said, this PBC card was fantastic. He was in against an unknown Mexican, a massive underdog in Christian Olivino. That's right, Olivio. The Olympian Dave was losing every minute of every round, got put down for the first time in his career. Last round gets a stoppage. Bit of a Conor Walker moment, if you like, mate.
yeah.
Conor Walker moment. So that was interesting. And in an even weaker division, the middleweight division, which has had a lot of things going on with it lately, watch out for Yunel Hernandez. Big Cuban middleweight, 7-0, 7 knockouts. I say there's not a lot going on in the middleweight, but watch out for this guy. I think he's highly ranked already. So there might be a bit of jeopardy there for the likes of Yanibek Alim Hanala and Carlos Adames and Hamza Shiraz. So yeah, guys, for the 48th time, all in all, it was a really, really good card. So keep up the good work, PBC. Right, as I said, let's jump over to the UK. Wembley Arena, to be precise. And I don't have to wax lyrical. Well, we'll wax lyrical. I think Dave will as well. I think the whole nation have been since Saturday night. Amazing Adam Azim. IBO super lightweight championship on the line against Sergei Lipinets. No one gives a fuck about the belts. It was just a fringe level belt. This was about really the step up in opposition for Adam Azim. Now, we've mentioned him loads of times on here. I'm a huge fan. Dave's a huge fan. We've questioned him in the past. But the way Boxer and Shane McGuigan are navigating his career, I think is bang on perfect. He's gone from fighting bums, as most everybody in boxing does, journeymen, dustbin men, Latvian bin men, all that kind of crap. He's gone in to fight a guy, I think his name was Fanian. We reviewed that show on here, and he was questions were asked him that night. He came through it, but questions were asked about his defense, how he was, how he was making it, setting up his shots. It kind of looked all wrong, but he just did enough. And since then, he's gone on to get better and better and better. The matchmaking has gone from stronger to stronger to stronger. Is he at a level yet? No. But he's gone to a level on Saturday night, Dave, where he is now fringe level and he's just beats a legit ex-world champion. Yes, Lipinets is 35. Yes, there's 14 years difference between the two guys. One's on the trajectory going up and Lipinets obviously is coming down. But he's still a tough fucking Kazakh. There's still something there from him. He still creates power. That's the last thing to go. But Adam Azim went in there and he destroyed him for 9 rounds. Yeah. And we and you were texting in between. And it wasn't just a demolition job, in my opinion, Dave. I text you, and obviously you're going to have your penance on it as well. What I liked about Adam Azim on Saturday night was he changed his game plan 3 times. It wasn't get in there, try and blast him out, right, have a defense and then hope for the best, get a UD win. Adam Azim, well done. He changed the game plan 3 times. He boxed off the back foot the first half of the fight. He got a knockdown off the back foot. Middle rounds, going to the body. Yes, we'll talk about the low blows. Couldn't get success there. So still went to the body, made the arm drop, went for the fucking uppercut. And he was landing the uppercut underneath the guard. Yeah. Mate, we spoke about David Benavidez. We spoke about Isaac Cruz. We spoke about Stephen Fulton. Add Adam Azim to the list. Fantastic A-star, amazing Adam Azim. And obviously, we will talk about what next. There's only one person for most UK fans who he should be fighting next. But let's enjoy the victory of how he destroyed and beat up and outboxed a really good opponent in Sergei Lipinets, mate. 5-star. Well done.
It was a brilliant performance, mate. And I bang on about the same thing every time we speak about Adam Azim, and it's his quickness. It's his fast hand speed. For me, he's got the fastest hands in boxing at the moment. He really, really has. Against an aging Lipinets, listen, he is, yes, he's a former world champion. This is the right time for the up and comings to fight him. But he can't live. He can't live with the hand speed. He really can't live with the hand speed. The low blows was an issue. In another day, he had a couple of points, but and they were really low. He needs to watch that type of range.
The thing is, though, they were low blows, 100%, but they weren't intentional.
No.
Sometimes we review fights and you can see there's intentional low blows there to give himself a breather, etc. But the way Lipinets is a lot smaller and the way he was tucked up as well, you can see he was trying to get to the body. So obviously the belt had raised up and had gone underneath the belt. I totally get it. Luckily for Adam, there was, I think, mate, we'll listen to the comms. It was to the referee's discretion. So there wasn't kind of 3 strikes and you're out, which was good because it was going that way, wasn't it? But yeah, just sorry to say that. Just that it wasn't.
I dare say it's very hard to be critical of that performance because it was a brilliant performance against a legit opponent, But that would be my only concern, especially if you're away from home. You're in America. You know, there's brown envelopes, as you'll always say.
Yeah.
You're skating on thin ice with that. But like I say, fair play to Shane McGuigan, because Shane McGuigan was saying, stay away from the body. You know, when he in a couple of them rounds, go to the head. But every time he went to the body, he was always looking, thinking, oh. But listen, he's gone in there and he's put on a really good performance against a former world champion. And you read it right there. You don't want to say demolition job, but that's exactly what it was. And around before the stoppage came, I thought the ref his corner should have pulled him. His face was battered.
Those uppercuts were lethal, Dave, weren't they?
He had no chance of winning. Sorry, mate.
Those uppercuts were fucking lethal, weren't they?
Oh, mate, it's like I say, I just don't know how anyone's going to nullify the hand speed. I honestly don't. He's so fast. His jab, it's lightning. He gets it back. Honestly, that's his biggest attribute. That really, really is. Guys in their 30s, like on the slide, they ain't going to see them punches coming. That is, the only way you're gonna do that is to time him. But how do you time something as quick as that? Because timing beats speed. But there's got to be some game plan onto how you nullify that. And which makes the only fight that everyone wants, like you said there, next would be Dalton Smith. And yeah,
there's so many factors. Again, you can look into this. The buzzword at the moment is being marinated. I get it. Marinate it for so long, get both of them to get a belt, bring it back, make the two names more appealing to the casual audience, end up getting it in a massive arena so it sells tickets to both get paid. I understand all that. I really do get it. But we're boxing fans. I'm not in the business sense. I don't give a fuck about the business. I want to see the best fights being put on. And the best fight in the UK at the moment at this division, but yeah, forget about Jack Catterall for a minute. We know he's the number one lightweight. But 2 and 3 of these guys, and they're both banging form. They're both knocking people out, and they're both getting better and better and better. Why can't they fight now? Why can't one of them lose and fucking rebuild? One's 22, one's 27. You look at what we're getting coming up now, right? We're getting Joseph Parker fighting for the world title again, right? Now, he was knocked out bad by Joe Joyce. Oh, he's finished. That's it. He's had his title reign. He wasn't all that good. He was only hype. He was rubbish when he beat Ruiz. That's done now. He's just turned up to get paid. He's gone away at an older age, right? Rebuilt and worked himself into another world title fight. These guys are a lot younger. Why can't they do it? I don't give a fuck about marinating. I don't care about it waiting longer. Get them to fight now. Both, whether you win or whether you lose, you can move on to different things. And you can meet again down the line with belts. I don't care about waiting about, Dave. I'd love to. You see a lot of managers, a lot of promoters, a lot of TV stations, radio stations, all singing the same song. But again, it comes down to making money, the business sense. So I do get both sides. But as a boxing fan, that's the fight I want to see next. I will appreciate whoever they fight next. Obviously, Dalton Smith's like ranked 1 or 2 with the WBC. Adam Azim, funny enough, is not ranked with any of the sanctioning bodies. I don't know what's happened there. He's ranked number 8 in the world with BoxRec. But because he was European champion and gave that belt up, he doesn't seem to be ranked with any of the sanctioning bodies. I need someone to educate me on that. He's now the IBO champion. Is he paying sanction fees? I don't know. But relevant from that, mate, I've got receipts on here to say, and I'll stand by what I say. And this was on the back of the O'Hara Davis fight. I reckon he beats Rolly. I think Rolly's rubbish. And I think he can beat a former world champion in Rolly Morrell now. Yeah. So, give the fans Dalton Smith. Dalton Smith wins. They both move on to something else. They can meet again. Adam Azim can improve, and so can Dalton Smith if he was to get beaten. I don't get it. Give the boxing fans what they want. Turkey's there now. Yes, we shouldn't have to go to him to bail out, but that pot of money is endless. Fucking get it up.
But yeah, like I say, we've seen this in the past before. I know it's different now with Turkey because Turkey's making them take chances. But we've had it in the past with Brooke Khan, Ricky Hatton, Junior Witter. There's all these type of fights that they were talked about the way we're talking about these, and then it's going to be soon. It's going to be soon. It's going to be soon. At one point, Junior Witter and Ricky Hatton were world champions at the same time, and they still didn't get it off. Didn't we? Yeah, exactly. So you get people going, oh yeah, well, it'd be brilliant when they fight for belts, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. You're a couple of losses away from it never happening. So yeah, I'm with you. I would like it now. I don't think it's going to be next, but
no, I don't
know. But who can Adam Azim go in with now? Who what's the next name on the list other than Dalton Smith? Because that's all they're talking about. I'm with you. I would like you could put him in Rolly Ramirez now. Get him out there in America. I don't know what the plan is for Azim at the moment. You can sort of see
he can't go back. He can't
No.
go back. The only one he can go back to domestically is Dalton Smith or possibly Jack Catchall. Whatever happens with Jack Catchall, that fight isn't going to happen either. But we can't, mate. In my opinion, we're at fringe world level now. We can't go back to domestic. Don't get me wrong. Dalton Smith smashed Walid Wizard the other week. It's not Dalton Smith's fault. Rubbish was put in front of him, and he done exactly what he's supposed to. But Dalton Smith can't stay at that level now. He has to kick on. He beat Jose Cepeda. So now he's Dalton Smith without the belt. I know he's dashed his European belt in the bin, but he's more or less world level as well, fringe world level. So perfect sense for those two to meet together.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's frustrating at the same time that being exciting, but they're both very, very young. So there's a lot.
Would you accept? I know he's fighting in a few weeks on Channel 5, but if Azim was announced with Harlan Eubank next, would you take that?
I suppose we'd have to. Yeah, I suppose so.
How would you feel about it? Obviously, we're talking fringe world level now. We want him to kick on. Like I say, the good thing about it would be that they're both unbeaten. It was meant to be announced before. It didn't happen.
I'll tell you how I'll answer that question. We're a big fan. Well, I'm definitely a big advocate of what have you done for me lately. Harlan Eubank's last fight in that 8-rounder against that French guy was when they were rolling around kissing on the floor. Harlan Eubank just doesn't live with Azim. Okay? He's fighting in March, Harlan Eubank. If he looks dog shit there, then I don't want to see it. Because Azim will be levels above. That's 2 rubbish performances on the trot. If Harlan Eubank goes in there and looks $1 million and think, right, I had a bad night at the office, I'm fringe world level as well. Let's get it on. I'm part of that setup. I'm in between you and Dalton Smith. Don't forget about me. Then I'll be like, okay, something to prove here, motherfucker. If he looks rubbish, Dave, I'm not interested.
Yeah, fair enough. Like I say, I just want to see where he fits into the mix because, like I say, if they're not going to put Azim in with any of the Yanks, like you say, the Rolly Morales and all them any of them type of guys, where are we putting him? Who's he going in with next if it's not Dalton Smith? So I thought I'd throw Eubank out there.
Time-wise, we've got a couple more to review. I just quickly want to talk about a couple of other fights on this card. Callum Simpson, again, out in 3 weeks, Dave, defending his Commonwealth belt. Really entertaining fight, but I was more entertained by his fucking opponent, Elvis Akora. He's a character. I'll tell you what, he stole fight week, he did, because obviously it's supposed to be Isaac Chamberlain versus Vidal Riley. Chamberlain got an injury, so that's why that fight didn't come in. Callum Simpson's joined the party. Fair play to him. I'm kind of warming to Callum Simpson. I think he's a great guy, great backstory. He's a fucking ticket seller, but his opponent made fight week. What an entertaining African warrior he was. And he's got that old-fashioned African style as well, isn't he? Yeah. Head down, a bit like Isaac Cruz, but Isaac Cruz is educational pressure. He isn't. He's head down, fucking swing for the hills. And he called Callum Smith quite a lot, Dave. More than
he was tough, man.
But Callum Smith does what Callum Smith does. He got the stoppage. I thought he was entertaining as well,
Yeah. I say Alfie knew about him. He must have seen stuff on TikTok and whatnot from the press conference and stuff because he knew about it. He wanted to come down and watch that fight because of him. It was
entertaining, mate. It was very entertaining all week. One of your lot, Scotland, Scott Forrest, heavy favourite against a UK-based Moldovan in Oriel Ignat. I don't know what happened there, Dave. He looked. I think I've seen Scott Forrest once, and I think that might have been last year. But in a year, he's like the Incredible Hulk now. He looked very stiff. Got caught. I think there was a left hook, and it was good night Vienna, wasn't it?
He thought he was just going to walk through him and got caught on the way in. Just couldn't recover. Yeah, that showed a lot of inexperience for me. Went out there straight from round one, thought he was going to blast him out, and just walked onto one. Yeah, silly. He'll learn a lot from that. Yeah,
and TKV versus Michael Webster is enough to send a glass eye to sleep, wasn't it? Eh?
TKV was when I went and saw Bawatsi, Dan Aziz.
Not good.
I don't know what they're doing with him. Honestly, he does nothing for me.
No. Let's quickly move away from that one. Let's jump into Friday night. We'll talk about Dave's prospect for 2025. Junaid Bostan. He was fighting for the English title, guys. I did correct myself last week. I did say British. I meant the English. He's clearly not ready for a British title just yet. He's 22 years old. He was fighting against Bilal Fawaz, 14 years is senior. Not a lot of footage on Bilal going into this fight. I think, again, me and David said it on this program. When you look at fighters' CVs and their resumes and they haven't been in with anybody, you kind of sort of second guess and think, well, they're up against a very good prospect. They're in against a world title contender. They're not going to be able to do anything. They haven't got any knockout power. You kind of poo-poo them. And a lot of the times you end up getting egg on your face. And again, Bostan went into this fight, Dave, as a very heavy favourite. I didn't know anything about Fawaz. You go and have a look at the limited footage on him, and he looks more like a boxer. Friday night, he turned into a puncher. Yeah. He was setting up big rights, big lefts. He was putting the pressure on Bostan. Bostan was humbled a little bit. Yeah. He dictates the pace. He normally sort of navigates his way into setting his shots up. I will say, well, I'm going to end this. I'm going to take you to school. This is why I'm a great prospect. Now, at the end of the day, we got a draw. I disagree with the draw. I think Fawaz won it by at least 2 or 3 rounds, over 10 rounds. Eddie Hearn, who backs his fighters until kingdom come, if one of his fighters, if the sky is blue and one of Eddie's fighters says, no, it's black, Eddie's going to say it's black. He came out after and said, look, Fawaz won the fight. Yeah. So I think Fawaz has been a kind of a bit screwed, if you like. They're going to run it back. It's the right thing to do. Bostan, mate, your prospect is 22. He's not a hype job. He'll go away. He's got data on Fawaz now. They'll go back to the gym. They'll learn from this, and they'll come back, and he'll probably win. It's a learning fight. This is what we're talking about, Adam Azim and Dalton Smith. You lose a fight, your career ain't done. But I've got to admit to you, mate, in my opinion, he lost that fight on Friday night. Possibly overlooked Fawaz. But again, I think most of us overlook Fawaz. He's got a fantastic backstory. He was a decent amateur. I think when he stepped up on the amateurs, he only lost 2 of the best in the UK, etc. But yeah, Fawaz was fantastic. Bostan was humbled. Definitely you've got to run that one back. We have to run that one back because I think Bostan's a lot better than what we saw on Friday night, mate.
I think I totally agree. I think he lost the fight, and that's hard for me to say. He's my prospect, but I've got to tell it as it is. I think he started the fight very well. I think but I also think that he didn't manage the fight very well. I think he gassed. I really do. He couldn't take the pressure of Fawaz in the mid to late rounds, and that's for me where he lost the fight in my eyes. He just couldn't take the pressure. He couldn't take the pressure, and he was pushed back. He was pushed back. For me, he will learn a lot from this. These are the type of fight we talk about. Education, finding out. Then usually they find out too late when it's something, a step too far. This is the right time. Yesterday he got away with. He got away with one there. It's a draw. But this would be the best thing that can happen to him. He's had it early on in his career. I still think he's going to go on to. Listen, one fight doesn't define him. I just think he needs to work on a few things. Listen, his boxing skills are there. I think he needs to work on his engine. It was a 10-round fight. Had that been a 12-round fight, it could have been a totally different story. Because again, I know I just said at the start there, he started off very well in the first 2 to 3 rounds. Boxed very well. Was knocking his head back. Boxing beautifully. But when I believe that when Fawaz put his foot on the gas, he wasn't making a dent in him. Bostan wasn't making a dent in him. And I don't think he respected his power. I think he was quite happy to walk through him, and in that was sapping the energy of Bostan, and that was the problem. Is that he didn't do it for me? He didn't manage the fight well. For me, he didn't do the rounds well, and that could be a concern going forward, because he was outworked and outfought, and so So he's got a lot to work on in this fight, in the rematch for me. But I'm with you. I agree. He got away with one there. I had him down by 2. Yeah.
Especially he's learning now
rather
than later when he steps up even bigger. So the matchmaking, again, from Eddie, I think was perfect. It's right that he's matched him now. And again, like I say, mate, a lot of us have got egg on our face because I watch a lot of media. I listen to a lot of boxing podcasts, a lot of opinion-based from pundits that are more knowledgeable than me and you will ever be. And they were more or less saying, well, Fawaz was a decent amateur. He's sort of come into the pro game a bit late. He's not the guy he's supposed to be. Bostan's on the up. It should be a schooling or even a fucking stoppage, And we was all wrong. Fawaz was brilliant. I really was. And again, great analysis by you. He did gas a little bit, mate. And it was the power because Fawaz was starting to land as well. I haven't seen the fights, the 7 fights we've seen of Bostan. I don't remember anybody, correct me if I'm wrong, actually hitting him clean and flush.
No.
He's quite quick. He's got good lateral movement, good feints. Fawaz was kind of lining up those one shots and landing. So there's something there with that guy. But the rematch would be very exciting. I can't wait for that.
Like I say, he'll learn a lot from
as well now.
And he'll learn a lot from himself because, he's had to dig deep there. He's had to dig deep, especially in them late rounds when he was gassed. So, it's a learning curve all round. Yes, he knows he needs to improve. But like I say, he can take a lot from that fight. That could be a blessing in disguise.
Definitely. As I say, we look forward to that one in the near future. And obviously, last but not least, Claressa Shields, Monday morning, over in Flint, Michigan, her hometown, the homecoming, if you like. I've wrote there, guys, for audio listeners, enjoy the quotes or turn off. She gets, I'm not, because of time-wise, because I've got to go to work in a minute, I don't want to get too much into a rant and a rave about it. I do feel sorry for Claressa Shields because she's in a division, mate, where there's one active heavyweight in 18, and that is fucking poor. And that active heavyweight is Danielle Perkins, who she fought on Monday morning, Sunday night. Claressa Shields now is a lot bigger. She's the elite boxer, and she is fucking elite in the women's division. She proved it against Sunday morning that fucking cheese. Danielle Perkins had 5 pro fights. She was a decent amateur. She's got gold medals and whatnot, so she can box. But apart from her being bigger than Claressa and having a longer reach, it was a complete mismatch. You watch the way Claressa navigates her way around the ring. You watch how she brings her onto the ropes, uses her lateral movement, moves out the way, counter punches. Yeah. She hurt Perkins, Dave, in the third. Perkins kind of sort of took a breather and fell to the floor, which was odd. Yeah. And then obviously she hit with a beautiful hook in the last round, right at the end of the fight, which could have maybe 9 times out of 10, might if it went 12 rounds or whatnot, could have probably stopped her because she felt it and she turned her back. But it was a complete shutout from Claressa Shields. But you go onto social media and she is clocking up these wins. She is clocking up these achievements. She is clocking up these belts. It's not her fault, but she gets so much negativity, so much poor exposure. People are on her all the time. I don't understand where she can go next. She can only drop so many weight levels below. We don't want to see her drained. We don't want to see her, rehydrated, dehydrated, should I say, going into fights. Yes, it's against women that don't normally punch, but it's a health and safety risk there as well. There can have to be something like where some of the girls below are going to have to meet Claressa at a catch weight if she wants competition, because she's too good for anybody up at these weight classes. Do we want to see the Savannah Marshall fight again? Yes, but how many times do we want to see it? It was a complete one-sided shutout last time. It'll probably be the same again. Claressa's getting bigger. She's getting faster. She's sitting down on her shots. She's fucking hurting people now. Mate, how the fuck do you match this girl? She was too good for Perkins at the weekend. Great crowd. Terence Bud Crawford came with her and the walkout. Fucking 101 belts. I'm a fan. I really am. I just think people are too harsh on her, and it's not her fault.
You're right. It isn't her fault. She can only fight what's put in front of her. And if there was someone out there of quality, she'd fight her. So you can't knock her for that. And you have got to respect her achievements. Where I've said it all the time. I'm not a massive fan of her personality, but I can't poo-poo her achievements in the sport. But like I say, it's not her fault, and she is dealing with these people, these fighters in front of her with relative ease. Perkins was there to be hit, and she hit her. That, I mean, one of the knockdowns was when she chinned her. She sort of went down and put her gloves. I thought she was out, and then she sort of just
round 3,
sort of stood up, and like it was a strange one because she looked like she was out on her feet, and then she stood up, and then she was okay. Her power recovery, because it was a beautiful overhand right that done her. Mm. But we talk about the women's boxing of being elite, and if you're talking elite, Claressa Shields is up there. So
she's the best. There's no one can match her, in my opinion, mate.
It's going to take a special fighter to come anywhere near her, and the weight she's fighting at, there's no one coming through, and it is a shame for her. And like you say, it really is, because you are getting good boxers coming through with the women's. You only got to look at our Lauren Prices and that. They're being trained now to be boxers. So it's a little bit out of Claressa Shields' era. In the next 5 to 10 years, there'll be more of a pull, and it's a shame. It's just fell in this era for Claressa Shields, because one, she would fight everyone, and two, she's a brilliant boxer. I mean, we always go back to Savannah Marshall. That was a brilliant performance in that fight. People were calling it 50-50, and she absolutely took her to school.
Yeah.
Like I say, she is just way too good for these opponents they're putting there. All they're doing, they're finding girls of a certain size. I mean, that girl had a world title at 5 fights. I mean, that just says it all. It's madness, really. And again, it's not Claressa Shields' fault. And Yeah, I think that the criticism's unfair. Whether you like her or not, the criticism's unfair. You know, you can only fight what's put in front of you, mate. And she beats them. She beats them all with relative ease. But it's a shame for her, really, because if the fights were there to be made, I have no doubt she'd make them.
Yeah. Promoter's got a bit of a problem there, hasn't he? Kind of matching her. So yeah, basically the banner was there: enjoy the growth or turn off, because people are clearly watching her, but they're moaning about her. If you don't like what you see, just don't fucking watch her. But you will watch her because you're intrigued of what she's doing and how she's doing it. So just stop poo-pooing her. I'd like to see her fight someone like a Baumgardner, someone that there will be some kind of jeopardy there for her, but boxing skill wise and technique, IQ, craftsmanship, all that kind of thing, it's chalk and cheese. But fair play to Clarissa Shields, and it'd be interesting to see what she does for the rest of the year going forward. Just before I go, just quickly, Dave, I don't know if you saw anything from Mauricio Lara's fight on Friday night over in Mexico.
No, I never saw it, mate. No.
Just quickly on Lara, he was out in Mexico. He's just turning up now. It's such a shame. It's such a shame for Lara. He was in against again an unknown Mexican from his own country, a guy that he's by the bookmakers should have sort of breezed past with ease. Yes, he got the stoppage in the 7th, but he was losing the fight. Since that Lee Wood defeat, the second one, mate. Since he won that title when he looked like the boogeyman of the division, the guy that's got natural punching power, but no one kind of wants to always stay away from Lara. It's a bit like Deontay Wilder. He's not a great boxer, but you get too close, he's going to knock you out. That guy seems to have disappeared now. It's a shame, mate. It doesn't look that guy. And anybody now would want Mauricio Lara, in my personal opinion, to have on their resume, because he looks a shadow of himself. He looks like he's disinterested, but because he's got natural power, he managed to get the win on Friday night. So just wanted to say that about him there. So that's the end of the episode, guys. End of episode 97. I've got to shoot off to work. I think Dave's got to do his usual David Gower, I suppose, a bit of Indians and God knows what. So we're going to love you and leave you. We'll be back tomorrow for our preview. Derek Chisora is fighting. Shakan Peters is in a European title shot. Who else we've got? Jalalov. Jalalov's back Thursday night over in Canada, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll try and wax lyrical about him. For how long it's going to last, we don't know. And obviously, the winner's weekly wager, the result of that, a bit of David McDonald and Oscar De La Hoya updates. So until tomorrow, guys, enjoy your Thursday evening, or Wednesday night, depending on when you're listening to this. And we'll catch you tomorrow. Dave, enjoy your evening, brother. And I'll speak to you tomorrow, mate.
Yep, take care, mate.
See you later.
Hello.